Hello and welcome to our webinar, How to Deliver Exceptional User Experience with Identity Orchestration. My name is Manuela Olhäuser. I'm Marketing Manager at the IC Consult Group. With me today and our presenters are Zain Malik, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Ping Identity, and Adrian Bukowski, IAM Consultant at IC Consult. Before I hand over to them, just some quick housekeeping topics from my side. You will all be on mute during the whole webinar. So if you have a question during the webinar, just type in your question in the questions panel and we will answer them at the end of the webinar. The webinar will be recorded so that you will all receive an email with the link to this recording within the next few days. And yeah, for your information, we will run a poll during this webinar, so we would appreciate your participation. Therefore, just yeah, tick the box with the right answer for you, and that's it. Yeah, and that's all from my side. Then I hand over to you, Zain.
Thank you, Manuela. First of all, thanks for joining this webinar this afternoon or this morning, depending on where you are. My name is Zain Malik, and we are here to talk about identity orchestration. This is something that we've been talking about all year. I was just at Identiverse in Denver yesterday, and it is a hot topic. Many different organizations are looking to do this, and a lot of people are seeing the value. So we will dive right in. So here's the brief agenda for today. We'll give an intro of myself and Adrian, and then we'll dig into kind of the business value. What are the drivers behind orchestration? And then we'll talk about best practices, and then we'll wrap it up with some Q&A. We have some pre-canned questions, but be sure to use the chat if you have any specific questions related to orchestration or just any general questions about identity. So just to get started, my name is Zain Malik. I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager at Ping Identity. I've been here for about 3 years, but in cybersecurity for 8 years as a whole. So I manage our messaging around zero trust, passwordless, and orchestration. And actually, orchestration kind of accelerates your passwordless journey and a whole other slew of journeys as well. I'm based in Austin, Texas. It's very hot here. It's going to be about 38 degrees again. Adrian, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Adrian Bukowski from IC Consult Group. We are one of the largest vendor-independent consulting companies around the world. You can find us in Europe and the US, in China. So we are a pure global company. I'm working with IC Consult since a little bit more than 8 months. I have opportunity to work with customers from around the world to deliver great user experience for them and to improve the IAM environment to the future, to be ready for the future. Great. I hope you will enjoy our session today.
Yeah, IC Consult is probably one of Ping's premier partners in Central Europe, and they work with our toughest clients, the most complex environments. So we're always happy to share the stage with them. Okay, so let's dig into a little bit about why organizations need orchestration. Why is identity orchestration becoming such a big buzzword? We just finished filling out the Gartner Magic Quadrant for 22, or at least our submission to Gartner. And in last year's Magic Quadrant, right in the front and center of that report, they detailed that only about 10% of organizations, or 10 or 15%, are using identity orchestration currently, but they see that number jumping to over 50% in the next 2 years. So experience is at the heart of that, and experience is the key to winning in digital. So here's just a couple of data points. So we all know that digital transformation or digital experiences have become the primary way that you interact with any sort of business, any sort of brand. And that's because just of technology advancements, but also because of the pandemic. Frankly, a lot of people had to adopt digital channels. A lot of businesses had to adopt digital channels just to survive. And that comes with some challenges too. So here, McKinsey, in one of their latest reports, they outlined the three main digital challenges. One is regulation, two is security, and three, obviously, is customer expectations. So you need a good way to audit your digital channels. You need a good way to make them secure, but also you have to make those digital experiences engaging. Otherwise, you'll lose customers. So everything starts with the customer journey and ends with the customer journey. Adrian, do you have any thoughts on this? Are you hearing this from your customers?
Many of our customers are actually pushing us really hard to ensure, especially the security. That's one of the most important facts for now, especially as you mentioned, that we started living in different and strange world with the pandemic around the world. Many of us sitting at home, not only for fun, but just for work. And for many organizations across the whole globe, thousands of questions, thousands of ideas, how we can improve security, what we can do to ensure that the person who sitting at home, it's really that person who should be working with us. So it's pop up just from one day to another.
Yeah, that's a great point, because a lot of our infrastructure was not made for remote work at scale, like VPN networks or so some of the tools that we use, like VPNs, they just weren't made for that scale. So we'll dig into that a little bit more. So how does identity play into all of this? Well, identity now, if you look at zero trust, if you look at just even the way that organizations are looking at it from a customer identity standpoint, it's becoming more and more strategic. For a while, it was just this little expertise within the realm of security, but now it is becoming a mission critical function within a lot of organizations, and that's because it's not just on the left. We're all familiar, I think, or a lot of the audience is familiar with what identity does on the left. It proves who you are with authentication. It determines what data you have access to with authorization, but also fraud protection is becoming more and more of an issue. It's affecting companies' revenues, and quite frankly, the types of fraud attacks that are occurring are becoming more and more advanced. So you need a good set of tools, probably not just one tool, but multiple tools which you can run your fraud checks for. And then the second aspect is experience. So identity really does define how your experience is on a digital channel. So omni-channel, how are you interacting with a brand on different devices? Personalization, how can they curate a set of services or an experience around who you are? And then ultimately, before you do those two things, how do you convert a user from maybe an unknown user to a known user, someone who registers on your site? Or if you're an e-commerce brand, how do you convert that user from an unpaid user to a paid user? Adrian, are you seeing more people still thinking about identity on the security angle, or are you seeing more and more people trying to bring experience to the table through identity mechanisms?
It's actually, I would say, experience is growing pretty fast, but from a little bit different angle. Many of the users are looking for something extremely simple. They might not be really deep in IT. We're speaking about end users in the organizations, of course. They might just use device for one of the small tasks during the day for a few minutes just to do something, and they need solution which is extremely simple for them to authenticate, to do their job, and to go to the main tasks. And with the complexity of many places right now, sometimes it ends with this passwords on the sticker on the screen, just because of that simplicity, or shared accounts with shared credentials as well. So experience is really important, and ease of use, I would say, as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, just going back to that example, users don't want to write down the password, but they want the quickest, simplest option. So, that's why it's identity-powered security and experience, not or experience. Now, the best organizations in the world, if you're looking at, maybe Amazon, Google, these are companies that have perfected both the security and experience. They're able to detect fraud, but not put too much friction in that experience. And that's ultimately what we want to present today, which is orchestration will enable you to deliver both security and experience to the level, hopefully, of an Amazon or a Google without needing the armies of developers, which, many organizations don't have the deep pockets like those. Those are $1 trillion companies, but hopefully orchestration can allow you to design better, secure experiences. So moving on. That's the vision, security and experience. But let's see why organizations can't do that. Well, one, the number of identity use cases is just going more and more complex. Before it was just about access management for customers or workforce, and maybe you put identity governance on top of it and have a special privileged access management solution for your, I guess, high value accounts. But it's grown well beyond that. Adrian, have you worked on many different identity projects, or do you see them come in kind of with the same requirements day in and day out?
Definitely. Many companies have different systems, but at the end, they have to serve for the same purpose, and they are distinct with separate user base, really often with separate data stores. And at the end, instead of having one central point, we have many of the small points around the organization, actually working for the same, doing the same, but just with the different levels.
Yeah, and out of curiosity, how many, when you're working on these projects, kind of how many vendors or how many solutions would you say are within the identity stack, if you will? Is it just a couple of vendors, or is it, what's like a estimate of a number that you would say?
Bigger organizations brings more and more of them, but at the one of the customers, it was more than 10.
Wow. More
than 10 solutions.
That's a lot of solutions to manage, just a lot of contracts to manage.
Too lot. Yeah.
So that goes into my next point, which is, integration is a major obstacle. So Adrian mentioned, 10 identity vendors within one ecosystem, but that's not even counting the non-identity applications. So you're talking about security applications, you're talking about customer-facing applications, homegrown applications. So in a recent survey done by MuleSoft and Deloitte, they found that the average company had 976 applications. So only if 28% of those are integrated, you're going to see lost value. You're not going to realize the full value from those investments. But then also in the same survey, 38% said that this integration issue is their biggest challenge or their biggest blocker to digital transformation. If you cannot integrate applications across the user journey, then you're not going to be able to provide that amazing experience. Adrian, how long would you say is in the engagements you're in, is integration a major challenge? And then, what are some of the timelines or some of the issues that exist when integrating applications?
Well, the timelines are always really tough. Ideal expectation is to do it in a couple of days, maybe up to the month. But with more and more time we spend on the projects, we see more and more challenges. So usual set of challenges are the different or unknown legacy solutions with their own sub-processes, which sometimes cannot be adjusted, cannot be changed, or sometimes require a lot of code to be rewritten. to just change the user role flow. And we sometimes ends with 75% of the solutions integrated, but the remaining 25% waiting for future or waiting for the ideal solution to have it fixed, because some of them, for instance, are written in COBOL, and you need the specialist in COBOL to fix that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and
no,
yeah, things like that. So
yeah,
these challenges are always popping up at unknown moments, but that's extremely exciting with the projects. And on the paper, everything looks like good flow, simple flow, sometimes a little bit more complex flow, but with each day you have new opening, new challenges coming, new customers or new branches from the business are approaching you saying, okay, so now time for us, so look what we have. Then you are starting internally or another sub project just to look what is happening. But that's great excitement of working with vendors and with the customers from around the world and see what they have, where they are, and where and how they can be, and how we can improve their life. That's that amazing experience.
Yeah, and that's why at Ping we have to partner with organizations like IC Consult that understand the business, the day-to-day business, understand the ins and outs of the application, and that can work with our customers on a daily basis to do that. And they specialize, especially, Adrian mentioned COBOL, a lot of legacy banking applications, and legacy gets a bad rap, but these are mission critical applications that have been working well for years. So these last mile integrations are still very essential to the business function, and if you don't integrate them, then you won't realize the benefits of a full identity solution. Okay, so we went through the first two areas. Identity use cases are growing. Integration is a major challenge, and I know this is a big issue now. The third one, especially with this webinar series about modernization. So existing tooling in IAM is not built for the current reality. So Adrian mentioned some of these solutions are written in older languages where it's harder to find developers. They're hard coded, so you don't really want to undo any of the coding because they are so mission critical. And last but not least, they don't present or they don't have native testing or user experience testing capabilities. So Adrian, can you talk a little bit about kind of what conversations are you having with your clients about their existing tool sets and where they want to go? Like, do they realize that a lot of the existing functionality is blocking them from innovation, or are they approaching it from a different manner?
Yeah, well, every customer is different, and every story is the new story. But usually, at the level where I'm involved, the customers are looking for improvement. They would like to change. Often they saying we would like to change everything to something better, but they don't have ultimate target. And working together with them, then we can basically show them what the limitations, or sometimes as well they come to us because they have limitation. They see limitation at their end. Now the really, let me say, fancy is everybody saying they are agile. They're working in sprint model. Everybody says we are agile, but when you're trying to deploy something, they say, okay, we have change window once per month on the Sunday, and so this is agile. This is not agile, right? Agile means rapidly, fast, deliver small chunks, but really often to see the progress. And with the current challenges, that's one of the biggest, I believe, we have at the limitation layer. That's the they would like to be rapid. They say they are rapid, but they are not. And the tooling which they have, it's definitely not designed for being deployed rapidly and used like that.
Yeah, no, great point. I think that's one of the best benefits of orchestration, which we'll discuss in a little bit, is just the ability to rapidly iterate and not necessarily remove developers from the process, but remove that constraint with a better UI UX that allows you to push changes in a much more rapid fashion. But we'll get to that. Now let's get to our fourth and final point, which is that user experience testing. If you're not able to test the user experience, and a lot of identity tools don't have that ability, then you're not able to do that iteration, that agile iteration. You're going to have a lot more back and forth between the business and IT. So you're going to be passing back and forth those complex requirements docs, and spend a lot of time doing requirements gathering. And ultimately, that's just going to slow your go-to-market. We have some instances where some customers say that, hey, our application teams are just going and choosing a shadow identity solution, if you will, because they got so frustrated with our processes. They had to meet revenue goals, and then you're creating a lot of friction or internal fighting within the business. Adrian, right now with your customers, if you're in a legacy tool, how easy is it to test the user experience? And then second part of that question is, how essential is user experience testing to kind of an identity initiative?
So I will start from the end maybe. So usually the customers are source of the money for the organizations. So which means their experience have to be smooth. They should have good experience. Otherwise, they will look for different partner or for different bank, whatever, right? So it's extremely important for them to have great experience. And I'm coming from Poland, and usually in Poland over the weekends in banks you have big deployments on the Saturday night and on the Sunday morning. Actually, you can see on the social media that again they had deployment over the weekend and some fancy pop-ups are now coming. Something was not properly tested. So for me, that's not a sign of the mistake. That's the sign of impossible user journey, which couldn't be fully tested in the lower environment, in the DOM production environment. Sometimes you even have army of testing guys. They have great tooling. They testing everything, but the best tester is end user, production environment, and you will see the flows you never saw. You cannot emulate the flows with the automation. So what can be done by then? Maybe we can have something which we can do pretty fast and see exactly what customer will see, but how to achieve that?
Yeah, no, I think so. This is the part that really gets our customer base excited. So we work with the largest organizations in the world, 60% of the Fortune 100. So if ping goes down, planes don't fly, they say, or if ping goes down, people can't bank. And a lot of people put projects on hold because they are afraid that the user experience will break. But now with orchestration, you have the ability to test that user experience, to segment it on a small percentage of the user population, and then push it out to a larger production environment. So what's the impact of solving all of this? Well, one, better customer experience. So we kind of just mentioned with Adrian's banking example. So that's about satisfaction. You'll have more personalized support. You'll have more engagement less login friction, and then you'll have more conversions. So a lot of people, when they have a poor user experience, they stop creating an account. I did that yesterday when I flew from Denver. The airline said, "Hey, do you want to join our frequent flyer program?" I said, "Sure." But the registration experience was so long and so frustrating, I just gave up because it was a low value transaction for me, but they lost a customer. They lost an email in their database. They lost someone they could market to. And then the other thing is fraud. Orchestration can help integrate a fraud solution into your larger IAM stack, and that'll just help retain customers because people will leave banks, they will leave an e-commerce site if they see fraud on that account. Adrian, when you speak with customers, are they trying to tie in their identity projects to metrics like these that serve their end users, or what other metrics do they look at?
Usually the end user is the ultimate goal. So the opportunities I have and the customers I work with mainly looks at the end user and their experience, their expectations, which is pretty good. As that's changed. In the past, it wasn't like that. The end user was at the end of the journey, and they are living somewhere. And let's don't look really. They will complain. They always complain. But now I see that the shift happened pretty fast, and customers coming to us asking for the beginning. Remember that we means the users. Our customers are our friends. We have to do everything to help them, not to make their life harder. That's really exciting when you see that. Yeah.
That's good to hear that shift has occurred, because I know my previous bank, I don't think they were considering the customer, and that's why I switched. Okay, so the other thing is lower security risk. You are gonna have, by implementing a fraud solution, integrating it with your IAM stack, you will have better protection and less expense, obviously. Another key thing is frictionless authentication. So Adrian kind of mentioned it earlier. Users want simple and easy. So a lot of people are talking about passwordless. Orchestration is able to stitch together those passwordless journeys because you're able to use, your own authenticator. You're able to use your own passwordless solution, your own SSO solution, etc. And then the other thing is that help desk is kind of the hidden cost in most of these organizations. 67% of password resets or help desk costs are related to password resets. I mean, if you have an organization with 10,000 employees or 1 million customers, that sort of expense can really affect your bottom line. Adrian, are you seeing this similar kind of thoughts that help desk is a pain point for many organizations, or they don't really care about it when they talk about identity?
Definitely, the help desk costs are growing pretty fast, and at one journey, I can tell you that we had per day around 300 calls to help desk for reset password, for change password, for things like that. After we delivered our project together with Ping, it went down to 2, maximally 3 per week.
Wow. I mean,
and it was from delivery point of view, it was really not much was done. Actually, we went with Ping Federate, with Ping ID, and this is it. Just 2 products.
That's amazing. I mean, the ability to allow users to do self-service is something that I particularly enjoy. If I can do a self-service reset or just get information myself rather than calling in the help desk, my productivity goes up, my frustration goes down. Okay, and then we've talked a lot about this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but delivery is going to be better because these timelines are going to shrink. Integration, which will obviously be easier through a no-code platform, which we'll discuss, and then we also discussed the ability to A/B test will improve your conversion rates. So, why have previous attempts failed? We've come out with orchestration in the last 6 months. A lot of our competitors have tools as well. But why have previous attempts at making user experiences failed? So we have implementation delays. I think Adrian's familiar with that. Requirements changing, lot of unique requirements around, especially legacy applications, not the ability to test the user experience. And then vendor lock-in. So Adrian, do you want to talk, I guess, a little bit about that? Is that something that you see often in the field? How does the phrase vendor lock-in, how do you interpret that?
Yeah, so many organizations I saw, they have their vendor stack, really, couple of them, many of them, depends. They don't want to introduce anything new. We have hundreds of the applications in the organization. We don't need 101 because it would be the same as the other 100. We need the place, or we need the solution to connect them all, then ideally move half of them away. Yeah, hopefully, I see a lot of understanding from management in organizations that they have too much and they would like to reduce the number. And always they just don't know why, or they are looking for that one ideal product. And for that, in my personal opinion, orchestration and possibilities with DaVinci solution are just fit for them.
Great. And then in terms of that, I mean, so some identity solutions also only are made for specific use cases, because as we discussed earlier, just the amount of identity use cases has grown and gone more complex. So we're going to put up a poll here asking you all what is the most appealing orchestration use case you see. We've started with a very narrow. Hold on, let me go back to my screen. Adrian, do you see my screen?
I see the poll only.
Okay.
It's just because the poll is open now for people.
Oh, okay. So yeah, everyone answer the poll. I think, what is the most appealing to you? Because this is what we're going to market with right now. So fraud prevention, integrating multiple fraud vendors into your IAM stack. Passwordless or strong authentication, making the authentication more secure, but also seamless. Improved registration experience. This is mainly a customer identity scenario. So when someone visits your site, how do we improve that registration? How do we improve those conversions? And then the other one's a kind of a niche use case, but for this audience, for legacy migration, this is a very big one. How do you migrate someone from a legacy data store to a newer one? We in fact actually did this with one of our engagements with FIFA, where we're orchestrating a lot for their FIFA Plus platform, which is going to be their streaming service for the World Cup. But one of the use cases within that was, how do we migrate users over from their legacy data store to a newer cloud data store? And we do that on a one-to-one authentication. So as the user authenticates, they go over to the new data store, and that's what we've termed quote unquote the lazy migration.
Zain, I will close the poll now. So
yep.
If you want to vote, just do it now. And then I will close it now.
Okay.
So
Great.
I can show the result. So that is the result if anybody is interested.
Oh, great. Okay, so legacy, or not legacy,
Do you want to show
Passwordless.
the passwordless was the main one. And that's not surprising because I think we're all frustrated with passwords. Passwords are the #1 security risk. You know, passwords ultimately lead to ransomware. They've led to supply chain attacks. So I'm somewhat relieved to hear that a lot of people are considering passwordless. Okay, so let's talk about orchestration. Hey, how does orchestration solve your problems? Why is it the answer? Well, one, no code drag and drop interface. You're able to easily implement that business logic through a nice, clean user interface where the business and your development teams can talk rather than having to talk through long technical requirements. You can actually just see the logic and the flow, if you will. What that enables you to do is rapidly implement and optimize. So you can do that A/B testing. That'll reduce your time. You can do this in a matter of days, hours, or hopefully even minutes. And you're able to actually demo the user experience. We do that by giving you a widget within your own site of your own look and feel, and you can demo that across different devices, across different user roles, and really see what the front end experience looks like. So Adrian, in your time with our tool, DaVinci, are these the three main values you see, or do you see other value propositions?
Definitely, these three so far are top ones, and I see fourth one as well. So the out-of-the-box integrations, which are extremely fast growing in the DaVinci. From one day you have 1,000 connectors, then next day you have 1,100 and more. So you are enabling a lot of the connectors to different solutions, different applications, whatever. And it grows extremely fast. But for me, when I first time heard about DaVinci from Pink CEO, from Andre, I was thinking like, no, come on, impossible. No code approach. How? Without code, you cannot do that without code. Then when we saw first demo of DaVinci, it was really like, oh wow, that was the game changer. That was the real game changer. And what I really like, what one of our and your customers said, that DaVinci is like a Lego for IT professionals. And it definitely is. You can just take the brick, put them together, connect them without knowing anything about Java, Perl, C#, or any other language. And that's pure future in how we can deliver great experience for the customer. And we don't have to spend years learning how to code and how to do efficient code. Of course, we have to learn something different, but at the end, the outcome is from different level, I would say. And you can extremely fast represent and show that to the business. Business don't understand the code, of course, but they like the diagrams, they like the presentations. And here you work directly in the diagram. You can show what you are working on, how the flow will be. So one step of this additional presentation documentation is removed as well from it.
Yeah, I love the Lego analogy. I'm gonna steal that for our marketing efforts. I have no technical background, no computer science degree, no coding ability, and I was actually able to create a DaVinci flow after about 45 minutes of messing around with it. So imagine a more technical person, it would probably take them 10 minutes to create a starter flow. And just to the point of the connectors, so the connectors is basically the application integrations as well as attributes. Currently we have 100 plus. We are on target to reach 300 by the end of the year, and then 1,000 by the end of 2023. And this is something that our partners like IC Consult are helping with. We have GSIs like Accenture helping with, and even customers themselves building. So what orchestration enables you to do, this is our kind of vision for it, is that it'll take you across the entire user journey, from initial fraud detection to how you verify and register for a service, to then authenticate, obviously, and ultimately authorize you for whatever data and services you should have access to. And then we can integrate all the other services, identity and non-identity applications, and you're able to see where those checks are along the user journey. So you're able to see, okay, if our user registers, now they're going to go into our Marketo database, and then we will see, maybe we'll run a risk signal check on them, a fraud check on them, and then we'll be able to profile their device, and based on that device, we will provide them with different passwordless flows, whether it's a biometric flow or an OTP, if maybe they don't have a biometric on that device. That's just one example I've seen in the last week. Okay, so one of the other things that we've seen resonate with people in our early conversations is we really go in and just say, hey, can you just whiteboard, a flow that you've been, a user journey? What's an ideal user journey for you looking like? For example, here in authentication, passwordless authentication. What are all the services they touch, and where are you seeing issues? And then they'll whiteboard it, and we can literally come back, or our partner like IC Consult can literally come back in a matter of days and actually show you what the front end would look like. So I'm just going to show you like a little brief snippet of the tool. And actually, Adrian, maybe you want to talk through the demo just as we're going through, just a couple of portions, based on what you're seeing, just because you are a little bit more technical than me.
So this is how the tool looks like. Actually, drawbook. Yeah? You just need your bricks, put them on the table, fill the names. It's not coding, it's just the filling the names, so you don't have to be worried about any specific languages, anything like that. Select the items from one place to another, putting them together, connecting. You are designing the flow, so that's what you had on the paper, you are now doing digitally.
Yeah.
For the first time, it's a little bit, of course, maybe crazy when you see the many of options you have, but the interface is really intuitive. And when I started, as you mentioned, Zain, for you it was 45 minutes. For me, it was something like half hour before I was able to do something purely at my own. But with the time and with the experience, it's better and better. And when I started with it, it was, I would say, early beta phase without pretty well documented use cases and scenarios, so mainly explore at your own and play with it. And now the documentation is there, and even examples I saw, even full flows are there. You can just download the flow, put them and work directly on the flow. You will understand it extremely fast.
Yeah, we're actually building out now flows more specific to industry environments, so retail, insurance, banking. So those are more in line with kind of compliance needs. And as you can see here, like when they're going through the connectors, you can see ping and non-ping connectors. So it's really an open platform, not tied to one vendor or one product set. So, for example, for our MFA product, you can use Ping 1 MFA, or you can use Ping ID, or you can use, one of our competitors. The whole point is to give you the freedom to leverage your existing technology stack, and then find out, what gaps may exist. The other thing is you can see on the left here, it might be a little small on your screens depending on where you're viewing from, but we have an audit trail. You have the ability to get, it's audit trail, and then there's a dashboard that provides you with analytics. And then on the top right, you're actually able to play it and see the front end user experience. So that is the conclusion of today's webinar. If you have any questions, please include them in the chat. I do have a few pre-canned questions that I did want to ask Adrian. So
we have a question already.
Sure.
So the question is, which session caused your wow regarding the no code? Because I have the same thoughts you had before seeing the demo.
Sorry, can you ask that one more time?
Which session caused your wow, so your wow effect regarding the no code?
I think that's for Adrian then. Which session caused the wow?
Yeah, well, the wow effect starts actually when first time I saw DaVinci in action, and you saw on the demo it was that number of connections. You saw that on the paper, and okay, so that would be my engineer mind switch to, okay, that would be hundreds of the code, hundreds of the components. Then the small play button on the right hand side pop up. We click them and it started living in their own life, and you were able to play with it, experiment. That was first real wow for me. That from the bricks went to life, similarly to Lego Mindstorm when you connected the robot and the bricks started living.
Okay, thanks. So
I think we lost Zain. At least
yeah.
We don't have his camera.
So any additional questions? Some more comments from the person just asked the question. He just
and you hear me?
Told you usually
Yes,
you have at least some
you are back.
or else's. Ah. Perfect. So if you have any additional questions, just add it to the
Hello?
chat.
Yes, Zain, we hear you.
I think he can't hear us.
Yeah, might be.
And you can use the time to ask our presenters some questions. So there's another one coming. How can we integrate DaVinci with existing PingFed setup? Adrian, can you say something to that question?
Yeah,
okay,
so
sorry, I'm back. Sorry.
Zain is back in the meantime. All right, so question was how we can integrate existing PingFed with Ping DaVinci. So there is adapter, as always, with the Ping products. There are adapters which you can use to connect the flow directly in between Ping Federate and Ping DaVinci. And as well from the being DaVinci, you would have the connectors. So it's full integration, as it's the one family. And I didn't see any obstacle.
What I've heard from the founder of the company that we acquired, that was the basis for DaVinci, which was Singular Key, and our engineering lead is, hey, there is some initial coding just to set it up, but everything's deployed by a single API call, and once it's stood up, there's very little coding involved. It really depends on how custom you want to go, but in terms of setting up the flows like we saw in the demo, that is all no code.
Okay, great.
All right.
So,
and last question, Adrian, I'll let you answer this because I feel it's disingenuous if I answer it.
Yeah, well, to me, the thing I already mentioned, that's you have the connections already, a couple of them and more coming in the time. Fully vendor neutral, from, as you mentioned, even from your competitors, you are allowing using them. So this is something really unique, as usually solutions like that are coupled to one product family or to one vendor. And I would say the ease of deploy, that you can have it in the cloud. It's really easy to use it, to have it everywhere, rapidly deploy, test. But the biggest advantage to me are the connections.
Yeah, I would say just because I am in product marketing, and so competitive intelligence sits within our team too. So we've just been looking around. The other two unique things are, one, we support all identity types, so workforce, employees, or customers or partners. And then the other thing is that we have the user experience part. So just the ability to test that front end is something that we have not seen as easily done by some of our competitors. And the ability to test the user front end is a much easier story to just sell internally. So if you have that CISO, CTO who's probably years removed from that technical role, if you're just able to show them the user experience within the look and feel of your own brand, your own website, that's a very powerful story, because a lot of these identity investments you have to almost sell internally. So I think that's it for us. Are there any other questions? Or if not, please engage IC Consult. Please engage Ping. We can get you set up with a demo or a sandbox environment, and we will share those details in the email to follow.
Yeah, exactly. And you all have my contact details. Just write me and I will forward it directly. And yeah, then thanks to all of you for your interest and your time. Many thanks to Adrian, to Zain, for the insightful session. I hope you were able to take away some insights as well. And yeah, so I just can say that I wish you all a good afternoon or day wherever you are in the world, and I hope to see you soon in one of our upcoming webinars. Have a good day and talk to you soon. Bye.